Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Building Minnesota RØKKR, the podcast brought to you by me, Ashley, aka Midnight, and Brett Diamond, the COO here at Minnesota RØKKR and version 1. Brett, we've got a lot to talk about today, a lot to just kind of level set and catch up on, and I'm excited to be here with you and talk about it.
Yeah, it's been a while since we had the podcast, but the day we're recording it is the day we're announcing our second esports team. So it's good timing, and we're pretty pumped. Big day.
It's the first time I've heard it like spoken out loud and recorded. So this is a huge day for us. First of all, we haven't been, a little bit of the reason why we haven't been uploading the podcast as much as we typically want to is just we've been head first planning for this team announcement. So version 1 is officially the sister team, I guess, to Minnesota RØKKR. They're going to be a Rocket League team. We're really excited about that. There's been a ton of work that's gone into it, and then obviously just the whole entire year has been kind of crazy with CDL going to online and those tournaments kind of leading up now to playoffs. So we'll cover that, of course, for all you RØKKR fans in the episode. And just as far as this podcast goes, I picture I really want to do this podcast the right way every single week. But I just don't know if we're to that point quite yet where we'll be doing it every single week. We might call it something different in the future, but it'll still be, what you've come to know and love from us. So I'm pretty excited about that and just excited about all the new things that we have on the horizon. So I think if you guys are watching on video, you can see the background of Brett. He has the version 1 crossover backdrop with Minnesota RØKKR. So Brett, talk a little bit about the process that we've gone through, obviously coming into Call of Duty last year with the Wilf family and co-owner Gary V. How did we get to the point now we have 2 teams? What the heck in a year?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to think about how far we've come in the last 13 months. We announced on July 1st of 2019 that Wise Ventures Esports was a thing. We were getting a Call of Duty League team to bring to Minnesota. Didn't have a name yet. We're using that Call of Duty North branding. But even at the time, and we've probably talked about this on this podcast, but even at the time, we always intended to expand beyond Call of Duty. And we always looked at this point as roughly when that would be. It was really important to us to make sure that we didn't rush that process, that we got through our first year in CDL, that we put the right amount of focus and attention into RØKKR, and really did that. Wanted to make sure that we gave our full effort to RØKKR, and didn't sell that short to be looking at the next opportunity. We always looked at, okay, once we get to the summer of 2020, that's when we're going to start thinking about expanding into other titles. We obviously didn't think that we were going to be doing that in the middle of a pandemic. So that definitely adds unique elements to the business decision and the calculations that you go through. But at the end of the day, we've got an amazingly supportive ownership group with the Wilfs and Gary V. Spent a lot of time talking with them, looking at different options and what the financials were and what the potential is for the growth of the organization long term. And the Wilfs and Gary are where everybody's in it. Everybody's in it for the long term, right? This is not just about 2020 or 2021. This is about what does this organization look like in 5 years, 10 years, and 20 years. And with all of that, we felt like despite the challenges of the world that we live in, it was the right opportunity to expand. And Rocket League is a perfect complement to what we have already with COD. I think when you take Rocket League and you take Call of Duty, you have two esports that really, in my view, have maybe the most potential to transcend that cultural barrier and become titles that your casual fan that's just tuning in, or your traditional sports fan can get behind. Obviously you have some things like Fortnite that have just like amazing cultural relevance as well. But just purely from an esports and a competitive perspective, in my view, COD and Rocket League really have that mega potential. And so we're excited to have those be our first 2 teams.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point because obviously we all know Call of Duty is one of the biggest entertainment releases every single year. It floats above some movie release, like blockbuster movie releases, especially now that like video games are now more than ever are relevant in the space and the competition aspect especially. It was funny, Brad. I broke the rules a little bit. I told my dad about a Rocket League team that we're getting into. I didn't tell him the branding or anything, although the branding
Did
is
he
super
did he
cool.
tweet about it?
No, he didn't. My dad doesn't have Twitter. Thank goodness, because he might have went and the Reddit detectives might have found him out. But I was like, yeah, so it's like Rocket League. He's like, what's that? And I was like, Dad, it's like soccer but with cars and they fly. And for some reason, he got a huge kick out of that. He was like, that sounds awesome. And I was like, yeah, it'll be a little easier for you to follow because I've showed him Call of Duty, obviously, and he's like, oh, cool. Like, I know what's kind of happening. Like, when we eliminate the other players, we're better, but, there's no true understanding of, like, the rotations until you watch it for quite a bit. So it was
Yep.
cool to see him kind of get excited. He's like, oh, I could watch that easily now, and he's getting into COD slowly. But Rocket League's it has that mainstream appeal for sure, and I'm truly excited to see what we can do with the brand. I've got to say, just Brett kind of talked a little bit about like the support from ownership that we have. The thing that I love about our ownership group is that we're not just gonna like come into Rocket League and like just do it to do it, just to say we did, just to be a part of it. Like they really want to do it the right way, right? So there's a lot of things that I'm very excited about when it comes to version 1, everything that we're going to be able to do with that brand, that team. We have new players to like share things about. They're very popular, obviously, in the scene. But to even just get to like tell their story because they're a really cool, unique group of guys, and then anything that we can do as far as like any of our broadcasts go, all of our content. Like I'm just like geeked excited because there's a lot of possibilities that we have and a lot of directions that we can go with it.
Yeah, and one of the cool things too, is just the sheer amount of matches and content that Rocket League has, and they recently changed their format. For people who are listening that follow Rocket League closely would know this already, but they switched up their format a bit, and now, I mean, they've got they'll have 32 team tournaments. Two they span over a couple weekends, but essentially 2 weekends a month are these major tournaments, and then one weekday per week is the grid, which is a tournament that runs all in one day. It's 16 teams. Our first one is this Friday.
Yes.
Um, we're what's exciting about it is we have the ability to produce that broadcast. So that's one of the cool things about the
Yes.
the recent format changes that Psionics made in the Rocket League scene. So we're producing that broadcast on Friday, which is an awesome opportunity that in most esports leagues you don't really have that level of opportunity, and we don't have it with CDL, right? Activision produces all of those streams and those broadcasts on YouTube. So the fact that we can do our own um, is awesome on every level, right? It's awesome from a creative standpoint, and I mean, you're more in the weeds on that than I am, driving what that content looks like with the rest of our staff. But it's an awesome opportunity for our staff to flex their creative muscles, for us to, from a branding standpoint, control the branding, and have an opportunity to put our stamp on the broadcast. And then from a business perspective, I mean, it's an amazing platform to bring sponsors to promote team initiatives, and to just have that control of something like that, is really important when you're growing as an organization. So, um, you know, I'm incredibly excited about what we're building towards for that broadcast on Friday and beyond.
Yeah, absolutely. And definitely like since Minnesota RØKKR is obviously a team within the CDL, there's a lot of like all those wagons are kind of hitched together, right, in the CDL. And there's a lot of benefit to that as well. But as you say, like to have full control over this broadcast that we'll be doing every week, that's like my dream. So I'm just so excited about that. The first one's going on August 7th, Friday, and they'll be weekly on the version 1 Twitch channel. So, guys, obviously, with this new announcement, we're going to link you guys to everything that you need to know about version 1 down in the description, or if you just go to version1.gg, you'll find lots of cool details, things that you can just check out and see. We're gonna have merch. We're gonna do all the things. It's been a long it's been an incredibly fast runway that we've had coming up to this date, but we couldn't be more excited about just everything that's going on. Not to mention, Brett, we're going into playoffs time for RØKKR, and that's insane. That's exciting.
Oh yeah.
It's nerve wracking.
I don't care how big this org gets or how many teams we have. Like RØKKR will always be the first baby for all of us.
100%.
And yeah, it's what a season it's been. Some incredible highs, some lows. Right?
Whew.
Not gonna pretend the last couple months haven't been a little rough, competition wise. But you know what? Everybody's in the playoffs. We're starting in the winners bracket, and let's go. Let's do it.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting times. I think as far as the playoffs go, let me just double check my date so I don't say the wrong thing. But we are going to be playing. We're starting from the winners bracket, so we ended up placing from the season standings 5th through 8th, which not where we wanted to be, but we do still start in the winners bracket, which is a bit of an advantage. And we'll be playing the New York Subliners on August 20th. I'm pretty excited. We have a lot of cool content, obviously, planned for around RØKKR for that time. So still really excited about that. As Brett mentioned, like, and you guys know me, I'm a Call of Duty nerd. Like, I've been playing COD since 2008. It's always gonna be my main game, my main my main thing. But I love the idea of something fresh with version 1 too. So as far as RØKKR goes, though, let's talk a bit about kind of the end of this season, and how just I mean, it's crazy. We had like an unprecedented roster maneuver happen. So the rosters have been locked for a bit now. And after the Toronto home series, decision was come to between the players and the coaches on the team to switch out Adam, aka GodRx, or Jerome is his nickname, for Caden, aka Exceed. This was a move that surprised so many people in the community. And it was honestly, I mean, we all love Jerome. Like, he is an incredible player, an incredible person, and it's hard to quantify what he's done and means to this organization. And it's hard to kind of get across in like a roster announcement that it's not because he's a bad player, it's because of how the team is structured and how the meta has shifted throughout the entirety of the year. Jerome's an incredible player, but as far as roles are concerned on the team, and how the meta has changed, especially with the shift to online Call of Duty, the league being online, it was clear that something needed to change. So that's been a wild ride too, Brett. Talk a little bit about, what that process was like, and how it's just been kind of a crazy end to this season, but we're feeling good about playoffs. We can get into that too.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like when we're in the watch party chat at the end of matches, and when the match ends, and obviously lately matches have not been going our way, and all the fans are furious and and pissed, right? And sometimes you see some of our staff sort of like trying to calm it down, but I get it, right? I mean, like at its core, we're all fans too, and like when I'm a fan of a team that I don't work for, and they're losing, like I'm pissed, and I don't want anybody trying to calm me down. So I get it. Like at its core, I get it. And we feel it too, right? But at the end of the day, there's going to be ups and downs in every season. And we've we love our guys. I think we've got the best coaches in the league, and there's no world in which at the start of the season every team thought they were going to have to deal with the things they've had to deal with, right? Going online, just managing, how you manage day to day in a pandemic and those sorts of things. And look, every team's dealing with the same stuff. But I think our players, our coaches have handled everything that's been thrown at them On a personal level, I'm really proud of how they've handled things and the professionalism that the entire group brings day to day. But at the end of the day, the coaches felt that a change needed to be made, and heading into the playoffs, um, like I'm not gonna. I think anybody that listens to this podcast knows, like, I'm not gonna pretend to know more of know more about Call of Duty than I do. So I'm not, look, like when the coaches are recommending a roster change, like, yeah, we talk about it, but it's their decision. Um, Fully supportive of it. And they talked with all of the players, and Saint and Jake talked, in that video about sort of how they arrived at that. Um, but look, I like you said, I mean, love Jerome. He's a part of this family, just like all the players are, and that doesn't change just because he's not part of the starting five, right? But I mean, he had an amazing run at the start of the season, and was the centerpiece of the team. It's been a challenging couple months, and so hopefully the changes have the intended impact in a couple weeks when the playoffs start. And, I mean, I'll let you speak to the nuances of sort of the game part of it works, but that's my 2 cents from where I sit.
Yeah, I think you phrased it all really well there. As far as like, well, what happens now? You guys make a roster change like 3 weeks before playoffs, and we kind of made it a point all year to not make a roster change. Like before the rosters were locked, we were like, nope, like these are our guys. We're gonna fight through it, and we've seen teams like United's a great example from last CDL or last Call of Duty season. They fought through those hard times and they ended out on top at the end of the year. But I think at a certain point, like you're right. The fans recognize it too. I'm sure. I mean, the coaches they're in the trenches every day with the guys, right? Like they're watching practices and going over, what other teams are doing, how is the meta affecting this and all that. And I'll link to below, or if you guys just check out our YouTube channel, you'll see the video where the coaches in depth explain some of these things. So don't leave it to me to explain the whole situation to you because they put it much more clearly and concisely than I'm about to. But I think to boil it down is it comes to the pace at which the team plays. It comes down to the roles that all of our players can and do. Jerome or RØKKR, he plays a really critical flex role on the team, but he is, and we knew this about him, like he is a methodical player. Like he is always in the right spot on the map, but he's not the type of player that's going to like hit stuff really fast and rush around and just be cracked. And I mean, he's cracked, but like not in the same way that like Asim plays. Like if you were to compare Asim and RØKKR's roles and the styles in which they play, they're very different. And so the coaches and the team decided that the pacing needed to be pushed up a bit, and the way to do that was to sub out RØKKR, who is primarily an AR player, and bring in Exceed or Caden. If you guys haven't heard of Exceed, you might remember him because he did come in for an injured Alex, who had an injured thumb a month or two ago, that was pretty crazy. Actually, crap, we didn't get to do a podcast around that, but that was a freaking
We have a
weird
lot to
thing.
talk about.
Yeah, we have a lot to catch up on. But Alex injured his thumb. It was like I don't know the right term, but he ended up going to physical therapy for his thumb, and everything was totally fine, and he's all better now, 100%. But while he was injured, Exceed came in, and it's very hard to come in, onto a new lineup and try to play the way that the team needs you to and adapt that quickly. So now with this lead time going up to playoffs, the team has been practicing with Exceed, and Exceed is able to play at a very fast pace because he is a true sub player, a sub machine gun player. So he plays that really fast, like hit you in your mouth style Call of Duty. And the combination of Exceed, Asim, and Alex, who are all three very fast players, that's going to up the tempo and the pacing for our team. So apparently things have been going pretty well in scrimmages. Obviously they're not streamed, so we don't have a peek behind the curtain just yet, but I'm very, very excited to see that first round matchup in the playoffs versus New York on August 20th. Keep in mind too, this is a cool little nugget of information for you guys, you COD fans out there. So obviously we've all heard of Mac Melts on the New York Subliners roster. He got brought up from the AM scene this year. Exceed and Mac Melts actually used to be teammates. They're really close friends. They kind of have similar play styles. If you're trying to like compare Exceed to a like amateur player, or I guess now a pro player, it would be Mac Melts, and they're really good buddies. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see these two young guys that have come up together now on pro teams, and they're facing the first round of the playoffs. That's got some really cool implications for it, and I just really hope that this helps us. Helps a Minnesota team get past the hump, because we can all agree that it's been a tough end of the year, and I'm hoping we can just hit them when it counts during playoffs and make it to champs.
One of the you mentioned the Alex injury. One of the interesting things that unfolded when that injury happened, I didn't realize just how rare an injury substitution was in COD. I know it doesn't happen very often, and but when it wasn't until sort of the some of the social media comments and even like actual media stories about how this never happens, et cetera, where
It's pretty rare.
when the coaches first raised that this was a possibility, whether it was myself or the ownership group, we were all we sort of to the having the traditional sports roots where injuries are just a part of the game, and it's just like next person up. It's like, okay, yep, Alex is injured. Let's make sure we get him to a doctor and take all those steps to make sure that he's looked after. But from a game standpoint, just like, yep, all right, put Exceed in and let's roll. But yeah, it was interesting. So the night of the Friday night of that tournament, um, when Alex decided along with the coaches that that it was in the team's best interest for him to put make sure he looked at the injury before playing again. So I sent an email to a few people at the Vikings, and they immediately connected us um, with the contact information for the Vikings team doctor, and we got him in to see. Like basically, he went in the first appointment available on Monday. On Monday, he went in to see the same person that if Adam Thielen jams a thumb, the same person that the Vikings players are going to go see. So
That's
we
so
wanted to make sure
cool.
he got the best possible care. And of course, I mean, for people who don't know this, pro sports team doctors have their own, their regular doctors, right? So really, in theory, anybody can go see the same doctors that pro athletes see. But in this case, we wanted to make sure that that is exactly who our who our player saw for his thumb injury.
Yeah, no, it definitely makes sense. I mean, I was pretty worried that he was gonna have to sit out during the New York event. Like I thought, like, oh man, like it's not gonna be done in time. But yeah, he started going to PT and got turned around real quick. So really happy for Alex. 'Cause I know like Alex too. I mean, you think about it, that guy, he's from the UK. He's over here during a global pandemic, can't go home. His mom can't come here. It's tough. He's a young guy, and his livelihood is Call of Duty. So when he got injured, I was like, man, poor kid, dude. Like I know it's got to be tough when the thing you're trying to improve upon every day, you literally can't play to your potential. And so the fact that he was able to get turned around, and from all things I've heard, he was fully ready going into Toronto and felt really good and still does. So that's really good looks for us for the end of the year. As far as like playoffs goes, I'm honestly not mad at the seeding and the bracket that we've kind of have ahead of ourselves, right? Like we're obviously, I think, and it's funny because during some Saga interviews, you guys know the docu series Saga we upload on the YouTube channel, the RØKKR YouTube channel. Subscribe. I'm so excited to upload the next episode because there's so much that gets talked about in it. It's everything about the end of the year. It's the roster stuff. It's everything about how we're gonna finish, and the players. I know it's kind of cliche to say, but they're like, yeah, the year's had really high highs, some pretty low lows, but it's all about how you finish. That's what people remember, right? That who won champs during Modern Warfare is what's going to be remembered, right? So obviously the season is still important because the seeding does have high implications. Like if you're in the first one or two slots right now and you have two buys, like you're sitting pretty, dude. You're like, heck yeah, I've got to win like two matches and I'm in the finals. So I'm not to try to take anything away from that, but it really, like, if you want to win champs, you need to be prepared to beat everyone. And I know that that's what our guys are preparing to do right now.
Yeah, and if you really zoom out and look at the season from just the totality of it, if you had a year ago when you and I were sitting in the Vikings office and you were like explaining to me like what people, who had teamed with who and like the first look at the roster list, all of the, all of those things. If you said that when the dust settled heading into the playoffs and champs, we would have ended the season tied for sixth in points, which we were, right? We lost some tiebreakers, so we're the eighth seed, but tied for sixth in points, that we finished second in two tournaments, that we were the first team to beat FaZe. If you were to lay all that out, we would have absolutely said, you know what? We will take
Not
that.
bad.
Like, if that's what August 1st, 2020 looks like, pandemic aside,
Yeah.
if that's what August 1st, 2020 looks like, we will yes, we'll take that right now. Now, obviously, the way the season unfolded, just the roller coaster nature of it, of
Oh,
like just starting off so strong, and now having not won, literally haven't won a match since May, which is just brutal. I mean, just
it hurts my
yeah,
soul, man.
yeah, just eats you up inside, right? Like, um, but the point is, it's like you said, it's all in how we finish it, right? And that, everything that the players that want to accomplish, that we want to accomplish, is still there. And it's gonna be a fun August 20th. It's a long ways away.
Oh, I know. It literally feels like 3 years away, but that's in like 2 weeks from when this is getting uploaded. So it's going to sneak up on us
Yeah,
pretty quick.
it'll
And
pick up.
you know what's going to make it go fast, though, Brett, is we're going to have the grid to watch. We're going to have the RLCS to keep us entertained until RØKKR plays in the playoffs. I'm so stoked to have our team. So if you guys don't know, hopefully, I don't know how many Rocket League fans are watching, but if you are, we've got Torment, Gimmick, AXB, Coach Fireburner. Are you kidding me? Listen, I'm not going to pretend to be a Rocket League expert. I've dove in head first into the pool of information that is Rocket League. Shout out to Lawler, who's, lays out a bunch of great content all day, every day. And he's been someone that we've talked to. He'll actually be talent for the grid. That's a pretty cool, just drop that mic right there. That's pretty freaking
No,
awesome.
that's awesome.
Supersonic will be his co-caster there, and it's just gonna be a really good time. Can't express enough how excited we are to be able to produce that broadcast for the fans. I know we're coming in. We're the new kids on the block. I think our Twitch channel was just made 2 weeks ago, but we're gonna be bringing some high level quality and quality stuff. So I'm just super excited. Talk a bit about the process, Brett, that you went through. I know you kind of talked a little bit about it, that this was always kind of in the plans, but talk about why was now the right time to get into Rocket League? Was it because we'd always forecasted it, or we got some pretty good players. How did
Yeah.
it all go down?
Yeah, so Rocket League had really always been at the top of the list of what we thought the second would make sense for the second team, right? And part of it is, you know, strategically, and again, talking more from the business perspective now, we felt like it made sense to not go into another FPS as our second team, right? That's not to say that, that we're not going to look at those in the future. We absolutely will. But to complement what we have with COD, with something that, something that has the E rating and, is super easy for sponsors to get behind and that sort of thing, makes a lot of sense. So from our perspective, we looked at it just at a high level, like, okay, Rocket League seems like it should be near the top of the list. And then once we started doing more of our due diligence, it just made more and more sense. I mean, the numbers that it draws from a viewership perspective, are comparable, if not better than Call of Duty League. So, right there, we're looking at numbers and seeing good things. It's relatively, um, relatively low cost from a financial standpoint to get in. The investment is not as significant as it is with other franchised leagues. So that's certainly helpful. And I would say you're getting really good bang for your buck, in terms of what you're looking at. Now, from a timing perspective, we were talking to a few different, looking at a few different options in the space. And then when Cloud9 exited Rocket League and released their roster, they immediately went to the top of our list. And that was like perfect timing because that was right as we were, starting to seriously look and talk to people in the space. But it was still hard to figure out like who's a free agent, who's available. But immediately we knew that this roster was available, and that's a team that's won championships in the last few years. Squishy Muffins was one of the three. He had gone immediately to NRG when the roster was released, but Torment and Gimmick were available. We started conversations with their agents. It came together really pretty quickly. And we were, incredibly excited and fortunate to be able to start our entry into Rocket League with those core two. And then AXB, who's the third player, Torment and Gimmick and Fireburn, who's the coach. They had been trying out a few different players as their third for a few weeks. And then AXB became available from his previous team, Space Station Gaming. And they quickly started scrimming with him a little bit. Identified him as the third that they wanted to enter the season with, and we quickly, got Alex signed up as well. So, yeah, it was definitely a whirlwind couple months. It definitely was not as wild as CDL free agency.
Call of Duty Roster Mania is a different roller coaster, man. That's whew.
I'll say this at some point, like truly after the season, I think we can start telling some of the real. We stole some good stories from Roster Mania,
Yes.
but there's still a couple that we haven't told, and I think we got to wait on some of them until after the first season's over. But we've got some good ones. But
Yeah.
this was
Crazy
really
time.
yeah, the first roster for V1 was really, it came together almost the opposite, where top roster became available. Sign those guys. We really didn't talk to any players other than the three that are now on our roster. Whereas CDL Roster Mania was wild because everybody was a free agent, right? In Rocket
Yeah.
League, like they have their own Roster Mania, and there was a lot of shifting of teams. But for us, it was we zeroed in pretty quickly on these guys.
Yeah, it really goes to show you that timing is everything. Sometimes is that fair to say? Timing is everything sometimes, but it really is. Like if these guys came available, it kind of matched with the timeline that we had in mind for the company, and I applaud you, Brett. A year ago when I met you, I was like, if I would have knew a year ago that you would have gone through 2 roster building roster manias, I would have been like, dude, this guy, he's a esports OG, he knows what's going on. So now you're like really you're starting to have some feathers in your cap. It's pretty cool. You're becoming a seasoned esports veteran as you go.
We missed an opportunity to put a camera in your face after I should have left the room and just turned the camera on, and you could have just like done a little vlog. I'm like, who is this guy that I just spent an hour shooting the shit with? Maybe they'll figure it out.
No, yeah, I didn't get that impression. I will say you said something earlier when it came to like building the Call of Duty roster last year. Like if we would have thought back then, like yeah, you'll finish like top 6, you'll have a really cool, like really good start to the year, but it'll peter out a little bit. But here are the key, notes of the year. I would have been like, oh yeah, I'm totally fine with that. Not that I was like not confident in our ability to put a good roster together, but just there was so much happening at one time that it was even hard to nail down like, okay, well how it all happened so slowly and then so fast for roster decisions, and especially when everyone's a free agent. I mean, that was an unprecedented time. So I'm excited that the year has happened. It's been a wild ride, and I'm really hoping we can put it not just a solid finish, but I really like, maybe I'm delusional because I've been saying this all year, but I really genuinely believe in the players on the Minnesota RØKKR roster. I believe in the coaching staff. I believe in their ability to grind it out. And I think that if they can just do what they do in scrims and execute on any given day, and it's Sunday, but technically we play on Thursday against New York. So any given Thursday, they come out. I mean, New York, they just won a home series recently, right? Like it's no easy road, but I really do believe in our guys' ability to take it on and do the thing. So just to kind of like cap this one off, Brett, are Are there anything else that you want to share about V1, what it kind of means for us as an organization? What like happens next? You talk a little bit about this kind of like grandmaster plan that we have. Like, yeah, maybe around like summer 2020 we'll look at Rocket League. What happens in like 2021? Can we say yet? I mean, I know, but like
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I'll share a fair amount, and the reality is we're constantly evaluating what those next opportunities are, and the right opportunity in the next game could come tomorrow, and we would take a serious look at it. But at the same time, every step, just like we did with RØKKR, right? We wanted to make sure that we that we took it one step at a time, that we built that organization and supported it the right way. And that's our view with version one is to focus on getting that off the ground. The additional production elements are huge and a great opportunity, also a lot of work. At the same time, so we have our parent company, which is Wise Ventures Esports. We're going through a rebrand for that. So at some point that will be called something else. We don't really know the timeline on it. And interestingly, so this is a little backstory on how we ended up with version one as the name. And at some point we got to have Annie on here to tell
yes,
the story,
I
or,
would
or do
love
some
to.
content with her, because she'll probably tell the story better than I can. But how we ended up with version one as the name. So we were going through this rebranding process for the parent company, looking at a lot of different names, a lot of different options. But none of them were quite ringing true, right? Like we just weren't feeling them quite yet. And so we were looking at new options. We were having the Vayner team drum up some options too, because they've got some amazing creative resources with Gary and Tyler and Maha and the whole group that we work with there. At the same time, like, all right, we have to launch a Rocket League team in like 3 weeks. So we came to the conclusion that we didn't want to rush the parent rebrand process, but we need a name for the Rocket League team. So we started to chew on ideas around names that sort of played into a temporary nature of what a name could be. Things like not final, and just like kind of some fun tongue in cheek things. So we're on this call, with some folks from Gary's team, the Wilfs, and we're saying we're trying to figure out, okay, what do we have to find a name for the Rocket League team. We launch in 3 weeks. Um, and Annie says version one, and the room just stopped.
That's so
And
amazing.
yeah, and we're like, Okay, we all really like that." And then um Dane, our incredible art director, came up with this logo.
So
Like,
sick.
I mean, just basically just poof, he had this amazing logo. And so version one is the name of the Rocket League team. Um, there, once we have that parent rebrand in place, look, a year from now, as we head into season two of Rocket League, maybe we shift the Rocket League team name to match the parent name. That's a possibility. We're kind of open about that. So version one, it's version one of the Rocket League team. I got to be honest, I kind of like it. This name might
I
stick.
do too. I really like it. I think the branding's on point. I love the color, the V. I mean, obviously, as a huge Vikings fan, and the ownership tie, like it all just kind of like works. But I'm curious to see when we do rebrand the parent company, and when that's a thing. Because no offense to Wise Ventures
Yeah.
Esports, really cool on paper, but not like on merch. So we want to make some dope stuff for you guys, right? We want you guys to be able to get excited about it. So I'm just excited for everything that we'll be doing with the parent company rebrand as well. And it's a really interesting way for us to just as someone who's been in esports for so long, we're kind of doing it backwards. And not that doesn't necessarily mean that it's the wrong way. We have a Call of Duty team, and we want to birth the entity that's basically above it. Whereas usually it's like, okay, there's a parent brand and then there's your other teams. So we're doing it the opposite way, a little bit of reverse osmosis. I don't know if that makes any sense. I just made it up, but I'm just excited at everything that we have going for the future. And in terms of this podcast and where we want to go with it, you're going to see a lot of content, not only from Minnesota RØKKR and on these channels, but from version one as well. So I just couldn't be more excited as the person who's directing the content. Like, there's a lot going on, and it's all just so exciting.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that before CDL playoffs start, we'll have had 2 tournaments of the grid for Rocket League, which we produce those tournaments, and then 1 regional event.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, Rocket League, it's an enormous amount of content. I mean, if there's, if there's one challenge that you have in CDL, not saying there's only one, but if you have one challenge from a brand building standpoint and a fan base building standpoint, it's that sometimes in CDL you go 3, 4, 5 weeks between matches, which is, for the fans, like they want more content. I understand why the schedule is the way it is, right? There's reasons for it, certainly. But yeah, when you're building a new organization and a new fan base, you want to have a steady drumbeat of matches, and that's tough when you have to take 3 to 5 weeks off. That's not happening in Rocket League. There is tournaments every single week, sometimes multiple events in the same week. I mean, it's a ton, and it's
Yep.
going to be fun.
Separated into splits. There's a lot to follow. And I think like for me, just now I have like a new thing to follow. And for me, that's exciting too, because I mean, I know some, traditional sports leagues are starting back up, but here we have, so much esports content to watch in the next few weeks. So, gosh, Brett, I wish we could talk for longer. We are about to unveil the branding in 5 minutes from when we're recording this to the public. So if you saw this, you're literally like, thank you so much for all the support, first of all, that you guys show on our podcast. A lot of the folks that listen to this, I think they are interested in the back end of esports a little bit. We have some exciting stuff planned for the future. This podcast will not cease to exist, but you might see a couple different variations of it. I've got some really cool ideas to shove with you guys. But I really appreciate you guys watching or listening. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, Minnesota RØKKR YouTube, where this video lives, as well as the podcasting platform that you have it on. Give it a subscription and a rating. I really appreciate that. And then obviously, go follow version 1 on all socials. It's version 1 GG, or just go over to the site version1.gg, sign up for updates, do your thing, man. I appreciate all the support. Well, I should say we, not just me. We appreciate all the support that you guys show us. You're the most passionate fans, Minnesotan or not. You guys are all just so passionate, and we love to see it. So, Brett, any kind of final words before we sign off here?
No, I mean, I'll echo that thanks to the fans that, have supported us, whether they were their launch weekend or hopped on board at some point along the way. It's truly been an awesome ride, and yeah, it's we're gonna keep it going. We got some exciting stuff happening with RØKKR, exciting expansion plans, and in 4 minutes we're unveiling that logo. So I got to go see what texts I've missed and see if we're still on track.
Same. I have so much anxiety. I just got so many emails during the recording of this. We've got to go, but we appreciate you all listening, and we'll catch you guys next time.